Good morning, America. How are you? How does it feel? How does it feel? How does it feel? Hold on, I was checking something out. I got a multitask here. How does it feel? I want to know that. I'm your host, BKP. Good morning from the office. I am coming to you this morning what did he say? What was it? What was the words? Let me see if I can get it correct. I am coming to you as a consistently stable genius. That's it. I am your stable genius Monday through Friday at 8 a.m. consistently. I mean, I don't know. That's what Trump said. Trump said that over in NATO. I am a consistent, stable genius. Oh my God. It exploded. You could hear the explosion all the way from 30 Rock, NBC this morning. Whew, they were exploding all over the place. I mean, how does it feel? I'm your host, BKP. Good morning from the office. North Georgia's only live online morning show. Dang, where's my glasses? I have to read some things today. Amanda, let's tell them how to find the show. 706-889-9700 is our phone number there. You can text us, say you'd like to be on the show, or send me a text message about news. That's our 24-hour, 7-day-a-week news hotline, chief@fetchernews.com. You can email me. And you can follow us on Twitter at FetcherNews, at FYNTV. Follow our Instagram and Facebook pages. And also, don't forget, Team FYN Sports. Now, Saturday, Amanda, I'm going to the fish fry. You want to go to the fish fry? You like a good fish fry? Do you? Can't beat a good fish fry. I'm going to take a car of 4. Now, I don't know the 4 in there. I don't know yet. I have not received anybody's RSVP, but I did sign up for 4. Colonel Oliver North, Will Ollie, we know him as Ollie. President Reagan knew him as his Marine, but Colonel Oliver North, the incoming president of the NRA, will be making 3 campaign stops for Lieutenant Governor Casey Cagle Saturday. And obviously we can't travel down to Savannah, but we wish all of our friends in Savannah well. And we're not going to travel down to Kennesaw, because all of us don't have guns, and the law says you have to have a gun to go to Kennesaw. So we're not going to travel down there. So we have opted for the 5 to 7. We're taking the 5 to 7 fish fry in Gainesville Saturday night or Saturday afternoon. So that's where I will be. I want to meet Oliver North. I want to ask him a question. I do. I mean, I may not report it, but I want to ask him a question because I watched all the testimony. Remember all the testimony? Just saying. I want to ask Ollie a question. Okay, that is that. Hey, now we're going to get into a lot of stuff, okay? The President of the United States had a NATO press conference in NATO before he leaves for England, Great Britain, London, where he's very popular. I can't see across the room. Is that the NATO picture?
That is the NATO picture.
Well, very, very good. Thank you there. There is the group. Okay. How does it feel? That's what I'm saying. How does it feel? I'll tell you in a minute. But are you focusing on... I understand you're focusing on your boat and the lake and, all the summer activities. But there's elections going on. And actually, it's concerning to me, and I've been really coming on here pushing this because I understand you're enjoying no school. The kids don't go back till August 7th or whatever. So this is the month. July is the month to get the vacations, the summer camps, to go do day trips that you wanted to go to Stone Mountain and look at the carving on Stone Mountain before Stacey Abrams has it sandblasted if she has her way about it. I mean, these are your chances to do things as a family and get out and enjoy the summer. So an election, really? I got to be bothered with that? It's like too hot. Did you vote today? No, it's too hot, right? So, but the governor's race, lieutenant governor, okay, secretary of state, I mean, these are some serious races that set the tone for Georgia, your entire state, for maybe the next 4 to 8 years. Do you realize, like, you know, whoever becomes governor, you have to live with probably for 8 years. Maybe for 8 years. Because once a Republican in Georgia is governor, nobody opposes him. I mean, David Pennington, the former mayor over in Dalton, opposed Nathan Deal last time. He didn't get anywhere, right? He's a sitting Republican governor. I mean, it's not like he's Donald Trump and everybody wants to take a shot at him like Jeff Flake. Anyhow, so, you know, you're going to have to possibly, this is your governor for 8 years, but nobody's paying attention. Well, how did he become governor? Well, it all happened July 24th. Oh, I was at the lake. Okay, all right, I understand. I'm a different kind of bird. I'm a tookie bird or whatever, okay? I understand. I enjoy watching debates. I'm going to watch the debates today. There's going to be the debates today, the Atlanta Press Club Loudermilk debates. And I'm going to watch because we know what those debates are about. They are to set up talking points for Democrats in November. For November. I'm telling you, it's just like Republicans, my head friggin' explodes that they continue to do these debates. But all right, I understand they need to do them. But you watch today how they set up questions at this debate. Watch how they set up questions at these debates to get some sound bites and some talking points for Stacey Abrams and the Secretary of State candidate for Democrat, which is a pretty strong candidate, and insurance commissioner, list goes on. Now, that being said, if you're not paying attention to the governor's race, you're probably really not paying attention to the lieutenant governor's race. And a lieutenant governor is very big. It's an elected position, and it's the leader of the Senate. And if something happens to the governor, your lieutenant governor is sworn in as governor. Oh, yeah, you better pay attention. Well, David Schaefer seems to be the front runner in the primary. He won 49% out of 3 candidates, or 4, but I'm going to say 3. He won 49%. He's the front runner. Jeff Duncan was second, okay? And Jeff Duncan is second in that race. And I'm going to call it desperation, all right? Just bottom line, because he has come out full scale, scorched earth. I mean, to me, it's 2 steps beyond where you need to go in a campaign. We're going to talk about that, and we're going to show you some stuff in the lieutenant governor. So the reason we're talking about that is my guest at 8:30 will be Senator Josh McCoon. Senator Josh McCoon down in Columbus, Georgia. He will be with us. He has served with David Schaefer for several years in the Senate, Georgia State Senate. He has worked with David Schaefer, and he is going to come on and discuss the reasons he has endorsed David Schaefer and his disappointments, my words, but his disappointments in what Jeff Duncan has done in this campaign and some of the accusations that have been made against David Schaefer. So that's at 8:30. Okay, I asked you, is it good to be back? Is it good to be back? How does it feel this morning? How does it feel being the leader of the free world once again. How does it feel? I mean, you have a feeling, good feeling, okay? Now, grandstanding is the word, but, you know, I'm wondering, you know, I see on social media, they'll put up pictures all the time of, 4 or 5 different pictures of Trump, and then they'll put up Mount Rushmore and then a square of what Trump pose would you want on Mount Rushmore. I have picked mine out, my Mount Rushmore. There's my Trump Mount Rushmore picture right there. I mean, I hope they can get that down pat when they're chiseling away over there, tie and everything, red tie, everything. That is my Donald Trump Mount Rushmore look. How does it feel, America, to be the leader of the free world once again? How does it feel not to be behind the president of Montenegro? Huh? How does it feel? How does it feel for all of them to follow you around now once again when you go to the meeting? Okay? How does it feel? I know for me it feels real good. It's not grandstanding. Because I tell you what, halfway around the world at a NATO summit, the President of the United States actually says farmers have been taken advantage of far too long. Asked about trade negotiations, Trump said, we're not negotiating. This is how it's going to be. I mean, what do you mean? Folks, on the tariffs, Jeff Flake, put up Jeff Flake. This man angers me so bad. Angers me. This man infuriates me. Infuriates me. He has a stop, okay, on, now listen to this. This man, Jeff Flake, senator from Arizona, has a stop on approving judges that the president has picked to get them on the court. You have judges here in Georgia that are waiting. One judge is waiting. It's been appointed. I forget her name. I think it's her name, to the 11th Circuit from Georgia. This man has stopped all confirmations, judicial confirmations of the President of the United States until the Senate gets to vote or gets to comment or whatever, or take a vote on tariffs. Yeah. You see, this man right here angers me because we need the courts, and we have seen that over and over. Judicial activism in the courts. And this man really angers me. I like, much like you should, being the leader of the free world once again. Thank you. Put his picture back up. Thank you, President Donald J. Trump. Now, infuriate. I think you know how much I dislike Joe Scarborough. But Joe Scarborough and Minka went to a new level, a new low. And you're wondering, how could that happen? How could it be so? Now, I watch them every morning at 6 a.m. And I watch them for a reason, to see what kind of lies they will tell, what kind of deception they will create, and what direction their take at all costs the American president down. Okay? Traitors. They're traitors, I tell you. Traitors. I'm telling you, they're enemies of this country, Joe Scarborough and Minka Brzezinski, and then they bring in all of, little Willie won't go home. They bring all those people in, and so here's the thing. The President of the United States comes on. I've never seen this type of low. And you're going to read about it. You're going to read about it. You're going to see the clips later today. You're going to hear all about it. I have never seen a live Democrat response to a president's press conference. Our President of the United States. Okay? Zero respect. They hate this man so bad. Over what? A facelift? Minka, move on. The scars have healed. I mean, because Trump said you got a facelift? Move on. All right? Now, the bottom line, why, Joe Scarborough? Because Trump said maybe you had a person that worked in an office outside of Sarasota. The lady stood up one day and lost oxygen to her brain and just fell all of a sudden and bumped her head on the corner of the desk and was pronounced dead. And the cops showed up. Oh, yeah, she's dead. Nothing to see here. Move along. Is that why you're upset, Joe? Because the President of the United States brought that up? Here's the thing. This morning, your President of the United States, I'm watching about 6:20 a.m. He gives a live press conference at NATO. Live press conference. He comes on. Joe Scarborough and Minka Brzezinski say, okay, let's go to the press conference. Let's go here, okay? Let's go here to the president as he's talking to NATO. So the President of the United States gets up there. He makes some opening statements, and he starts taking questions. They don't stop the president. They talk over them. So you don't see Scarborough, but the President of the United States is talking. And Scarborough, you hear his voice say, that's a lie. That's a lie. He just stood up there and lied because blah, 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 blah. Obama did this, this, and you can hardly hear the president for 15 seconds. So the president is talking about something else, that, NATO, there's more money coming in the area of $33 billion, close to $40 billion that has come in. I mean, NATO Secretary General. Do I have a picture of him and the president, Secretary General and the president of the United States? I forget his name. But the NATO Secretary General and the president of the United States, he is following Trump around. Because this past year, I said it jokingly, NATO was able to order new hats and rain jackets because the budget has money in it. $33 billion more has come in, okay? And he has put them on the spot, and he said, look, I'm going to tell you all point blank. The American people signed on to protect you from Russian invasion. It's right in 1949, April 4th, 1949, when Harry S. Truman signed the Declaration for NATO. And it says, keep Russia out, America in, and Germany down. So the man actually went over there and said, hey, we are determined and we are committed to keeping Russia out. You know, we're not very well keeping Russia out when you're in partnership to build pipelines all the way across the Baltic Sea there, and you're going to have 70% of your natural gas. Now, just take time and do a Google search on some countries that got a little cold one winter that were depending on Russian natural gas, and Putin went over and just tipped down the lever a little bit, slowed the flow down, okay? Energy is part of a national defense, and when 70% of your natural gas is coming from the person or the country that you are sworn together with NATO, 29 countries or whatever, when you're sworn together to defend those 29 countries against Russian invasion, then it's pretty hard when your national defense, is all of a sudden one day Putin goes over, flips the lever down, and 70% of your natural gas is cut off. That could be a part of your national defense. And so anyhow, Trump just has brought all of this to light. You see, we've had Secretary of States before go over, which Rex Tillerson, and we've had them say gingerly. We had Bill Gates, or is it Bob Gates? Bob Gates, I guess, the wishy-washy guy that was, with Bush and then Obama, whatever. So we had Bob Gates go over. Remember, Bob Gates went over, and he went over and gingerly told them, NATO went over and they were gingerly told behind closed doors, hey, could you, before we leave today, we're going to pass a hat. And if you can up the giving a little bit, we'd appreciate it. Let's set some goals. Let's set some spending goals for NATO here that you contribute to your country so we can come out and see some goals have been set, right? Okay, so they've done that in the past, but it's not worked. There's no president went out there over there and came out to the podium and said, you know, in front of everybody and every reporter that follows it from around the world and said, hey, I told Angela and I told the rest of them, look, you're buying your natural gas from the people who are supposed to be defending you. How does that look? How, you know, really stop and think about it. And second, if you want our help, you're going to have to up the money. And I mean now. It's got to come up now. You got to get the full 2% in now. Okay? You got to do it. You can't be 1.2, 1.3. You got to get it in. And maybe we're going to up it in the future. The only president that's had the nerve to do that, the leader of the free world, we are. We are the leader of the free world once again. Okay? Now the trade, don't worry about the trade and the tariffs. Trump said yesterday, look, we're going to have a meeting. And if they don't want to come, the EU don't want to come to the table, we're not negotiating. You need to understand, we're not negotiating. You got it? He said, we're going to say, look, this is unfair. This is what we want. And if you don't want to do it, that's fine, because I'm going to slap 25% on every car you put on a boat floating our way. And I'm telling you, the American people are behind him. They are. So anyhow, he's doing a press conference, and at least, you're going to read about it, at least 5 to 6 times. In the middle, the reporter asked a question. I never saw this before. I did not think I would ever see this in my lifetime. But the president asked a question. I mean, the press asked a question of the president of the United States. And immediately, he starts answering, and then I hear Joe Scarborough's voice correcting him. He called him a liar, like he's on the world stage. I mean, how many times was Obama on the world stage and they would cringe? Oh my God, comments were made and he was on the world stage. He's our representative. Why, we should never, go off the shores there and say something because he's on the world stage. Oh my God. Trump, the man is your president of the United States. And he's on the world stage talking to NATO, and he's saying, no, we're not getting out of NATO. Forget all that. We're not getting out of NATO. All right? We're making NATO stronger. And Russia does not like this. Trump is not pandering to any damn body. You need to understand that. Russia likes nothing about. Okay, I mean, I'm understanding where is the brain cells. Now, they're going to make fun of Trump telling you he is a daily, stable, consistent conservative, okay? They're going to make fun of that, all right? I'm sorry, my computer just went totally black screen. That's not good. Well, I mean, I didn't mean to get off there. It just went black screen. That is just not good. I've got a lot of work on that computer. Anyhow, okay? So here we are. He's saying, hey, you know what? We're going to up the spending. You think Russia likes that? I mean, the money. We're going to up the money coming in. Russia doesn't like anything about hearing we're going to up the money coming in to NATO. Nothing. And then he's going to go to London, where Theresa May wants to make a good deal, and Theresa May cannot wait. He's on his way to London, cannot wait to make a good deal with the President of the United States, and then he's going to meet with Putin. So it's all set up, and it's going to be fine, America. Trump is doing a great job, a stable, consistent genius on a daily basis. Then he's going to head to see Putin, and then he's going to come back home. Why has, and I had it up here on the screen, why has Rod Rosenstein put a team to review? The assistant Attorney General of the United States put a team to review Kavanaugh, the President Trump's appointee. We're going to talk about that about 9 o'clock today. Why? Okay? Why is that happening? Lisa Page. Why doesn't she just go to jail? Why don't we send her just straight to jail until she decides to talk? but she's supposedly getting it together. Didn't have enough time, so yesterday she didn't show up. But Peter Strzok, his arrogant little keister, is supposed to show up and testify today in front of Congress. That'll be live. And then what do we have? We have, this morning while the President of the United States was doing a press conference at NATO, CNN was probably running a Stormy Daniels story. That's what they were probably doing. They were probably headlining with Stormy Daniels. They probably didn't even cover the press conference. I'm serious. CNN, the Stormy Daniels Network. The Stormy Daniels Network, damn it, for the 12th time. What the heck? There. I told you when you heard Stormy Daniels, put it up. I tell you what, you can kill a joke faster than anything. I mean, I set a joke up. You're a joke killer. That's what you are.
That's what I'm here for.
Okay. Hey, wait a minute. That's an inappropriate picture.
I'm sorry.
It is 8:27 in the morning. That's very inappropriate. So Stormy Daniels and Michael Avenatti, they're all upset because she got arrested in Ohio dancing and allowed somebody to touch her inappropriately in a non-sexual manner. Now, everything about this is what cracks me up. She got arrested for allowing somebody, as she was dancing in a club, to touch her in a non-sexual manner. If you're dancing, isn't everything inappropriate? Number one. Two, isn't everything in a sexual manner? Three, just the touch is a sexual inappropriate manner. What the hell? So how do you get the dollar bills in? Isn't that inappropriate touching? Excuse me. Ma'am, I don't want to be disrespectful while you got the tassels swinging around and you're shaking your, booty. I'd like to get a dollar bill in there. Not inappropriately. Now go back, because I don't want that to be, do you just say, America, where the hell are we at? Yeah, Stormy Daniels got arrested. Michael Avenatti said it was a setup for inappropriate touching in a non-sexual manner as she was dancing in Ohio. CNN probably led with that. We come back, it's going to be time for Josh McCoon, Georgia State Senator Josh McCoon, and we're going to talk about the lieutenant governor's race. Take us to break, Amanda.
The Tupelo Tea mission is to provide over 80 premium tea blends for tea lovers who are looking for ways to explore new flavors and blends. Come visit Tupelo Tea, located in beautiful downtown Blue Ridge at Sycamore Crossing. Be sure to sample our various varieties of honey and tea. Visit us on the web at tupelotea.com or call us at 706-946-TEAS. That's TEAS. Tupelo Tea, located in beautiful downtown Blue Ridge.
Ace is your helpful place for paint and home goods, tools, outdoor living, and lawn equipment. But did you know Ace Hardware of Blue Ridge is a little bit more? We have hunting rifles and accessories for your next hunting trip. We have Amish furniture imported directly from Ohio. And we have Ace Custom Woodworks for all your custom wood project needs, from cabinets to artwork. Ace Hardware of Blue Ridge. We have your new house in stock.
Better days ahead. Yellow pollen means green cash at Days Chevrolet in Jasper. The spring savings event is on at Days, and the discounts are deep. Now save up to $11,000 off select new 2018 Chevy Silverados, or up to $6,000 off select new 2018 Equinox. Pick any Chevy you want and save a bunch during the spring savings event going on now at Days Chevrolet in Jasper, where new Chevys cost less.
Better days ahead, Days Chevrolet.
Find new roads.
What you gonna do with all that junk?
Circuit World, with multiple locations to serve you in Murphy and Franklin, North Carolina, Blairsville, Blue Ridge, and Ellen-J, Georgia. Locally owned and operated since 1985. Appliances, electronics, and furniture. Name brand products like LG, Samsung, Dell, Whirlpool, Ashley, Catnapper, and more. No credit check, only 10% down on furniture, and only $10 down on any new lease purchase. Mention FYN10 for your special...
One.
Folks, I'm your host, BKP. Good morning from the office. Welcome back. I asked you as we begun the show this morning, how does it feel? And what I meant by that, how does it feel to once again be the leader in the free world as President Donald Trump is headed over to meet with Theresa May there in Great Britain and then off to meet Vladimir Putin. But we're going to bring it home right now. My guest on the phone is State Senator Josh McCoon. And before I bring Josh in, Senator McCoon in, we're going to be talking about the lieutenant governor's race between the current state senator David Schaefer and currently a state representative, State House Representative Jeff Duncan. And so let me bring in Senator McCoon. Senator McCoon, how are you?
I'm doing great. I appreciate you having me on this morning.
Well, we can hear you, a little background noise, but as a Georgia State Senator, you are following the law that just recently went into effect, and I know you're driving and your hands free. So for those of you out there, he is not breaking the law this morning as he's driving.
That is exactly correct, and I hope you can hear me all right. But yes, I'm in the car traveling today.
I can hear you fine, but here's the question. Let's go straight to it. You have served with David Schaefer, candidate for lieutenant governor. And if I'm correct, in the primary, Schaefer brought in 49% of the vote. And second in the runoff, and a far distant second, is Jeff Duncan that's running against him. Now, Jeff Duncan has just put out a list of accusations concerning David Schaefer. And I read the accusations. I watched this commercial. I think it goes over the line. That's just me personally in campaigning. And then David Schaefer has come back with a list of, and actually calls them just flat out lies. One, tell us why you're endorsing David Schaefer, and what do you feel about Jeff Duncan's accusations towards the senator?
Sure. Well, it's an easy call for me to get behind David Schaefer for lieutenant governor, because over the last 8 years, the issues that I've championed, religious freedom, ending unlimited lobbyist gifts under the Gold Dome, finally bringing streaming video of Senate committee meetings, David Schaefer has championed each and every one of those issues. He's helped get those things over the finish line. He's been just a tremendous advocate for conservative values under the Gold Dome. Probably most recently, when we were going through this fight over the adoption bill, Senator Schaefer was standing strong behind Senator Ligon to make sure we protected faith-based adoption agencies. So I think somebody's record is a pretty good indicator of how they're going to perform in the future. And David Schaefer has earned our trust, those of us who consider ourselves to be conservative Republicans, and that's why I'm supporting David. On the question of Representative Duncan and the stuff that his campaign and some of his dark money allies out there have put out, I've been around campaigns for a while, but it is shocking to me just the willingness to absolutely lie about Senator Schaefer. And I just would focus on one attack that's been out there. They're using a headline from the Atlanta Journal-Constitution to imply that Senator Schaefer was involved in some sort of illegal conspiracy. Well, the story that they're ripping the headline from was a story about Clay Tippins, a former candidate for governor. It has nothing to do with Senator Schaefer. And so it just sort of shocks the conscience. I mean, I guess we all have become accustomed to this mudslinging that occurs, particularly in a runoff campaign. But I've never seen something that just they take something that has no basis in fact and try to attach it to somebody who has nothing to do with it. So, I've had the opportunity, during my own campaign to see Representative Duncan campaign around the state. I couldn't tell you the first thing that he's for. All I can tell you is that for whatever reason, he really does not like David Schaefer. That's really been the entirety of his campaign.
Well, one of the things, and I do not endorse candidates, but I'm not opposed to saying I'm very disappointed in campaigns. And I watch campaigns probably a little more than candidates themselves to see how they're run. And I'm very disappointed in his campaign because when I see, and I know they get dirty, it's politics, but when I go to a coffee, okay, where the candidate is in somebody's living room with 15 people, and in the intimate setting there, and he talks about his call to run for public office was something he heard at church one Sunday, and then see these kind of ads just concerns me. And I mean, I don't know. I'm probably putting myself a little too much into this.
Well, I think a lot of people are uncomfortable with that. I mean, it's almost a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde situation. You have this discussion about sweetness and light and reforming the Capitol, all in very vague terms. And then this just overwhelmingly negative campaign that's backed by over $1 million in dark money. These shadowy groups, one out of Westchester, Ohio, one out of Washington, D.C., no idea where this money's coming from. It's very strange to me to hear someone talk about moneyed special interests under the Gold Dome and then accept $1 million in help from donors that aren't identified, who we would assume have their own agenda at our state capitol.
Well, here's the thing. One of the reasons I wanted you to come on, you have endorsed David Schaefer, but one of the reasons I wanted you to come on is, to me, these are my words, but I'm just going to be candid. You're a trusted person here on the show. I've known you for a long time. I feel comfortable when we have a discussion. So I felt the discussion I basically wanted to have with you is in front of everybody out there, the viewers. Now, David Schaefer was the Senate pro temp. And he was not the Senate pro temp this last session, so he could back away from that and not be in the forefront and be able to focus a little more on his campaign. But as the Senate pro temp, he kind of steers legislation through the waters, and I know I'm just putting it that way. He has been responsible for steering a lot of legislation, and I don't want to say he's just a senator, no disrespect, but he was in the forefront steering a lot of legislation, and you yourself have had several pieces of legislation that you know for a fact he helped steer through, or the way he worked on that legislation.
That's absolutely right. I mean, again, if you look at the last 8 years of Georgia state legislative action, it is hard to argue with the statement that the state Senate has been the conservative body, and from Senator Schaefer, Steve Gooch, our majority whip, our leadership team, all the way up to Lieutenant Governor Cagle. We have advanced an agenda, whether it's robust religious freedom legislation. English is the official language of state government. We passed that constitutional amendment in 2016, ending the practice of issuing Georgia driver's licenses to illegal aliens. And Senator Schaefer has had some proposals that he's championed in his own right. I think one of the most significant ones was a constitutional amendment to cap Georgia's income tax at 6%, which went to the voters in November 2016 and passed. So he's got a tremendous legislative record. He's got one of the longest records for pro-life legislation, Second Amendment legislation. I mean, if you're a full spectrum conservative, there are very few votes that you can point to with David Schaefer that you would have been disappointed with over the last several years?
You know, there's accusations, and let me talk about him personally at the Capitol. In the what was put out as lies. You know, let me get to the one here. Duncan falsely accuses Schaefer of getting rich in the state Senate. What say you? Well, I'll ask you, did you get rich in the state Senate?
No, I did not. I can state that categorically. But, you know, this is one of the more ridiculous claims that's being made. You know, David Schaefer is one of the hardest working people I've ever known. David's been working since he was a very young man. He tells a story on the campaign trail about being a janitor at his church to pick up some extra money. He had various little businesses he ran as a high school student and in college. He's just worked very hard. He's taken the money that he's earned. He's invested in real estate. He's invested in businesses that have done well. And, you know, I thought the Republican Party was about championing small business owners and people who go into the free marketplace and succeed. And I'm not exactly sure why Representative Duncan's campaign has behaved this way, other than they want voters to assume that David Schaefer's only source of income is his Senate salary, which is absurd. So it's disappointing that they would make that kind of charge when the truth of the matter is David's an incredibly industrious man who is, you know, just in an American success story.
Well, you know, you're supposed to, and many people miss this, and no disrespect to the viewers or the voters of Georgia, but you're supposed to go down and work 40 days and then go home and go back to work at what you do, whether it be an attorney, whether it be a builder or a realtor or whatever you do. You're supposed to go back home and do that. And actually your Senate position is not supposed to be your major source of income.
That's exactly right. You know, Georgia, we have a legacy that stretches back to the founding of this country, and something that, you know, Congress and all the other states used to abide, which is you had citizen legislators who went up, did the legislative business, and returned home. We didn't have this notion of professional legislators that that's all they do, or professional you know, sort of staff and a lot of the things we've got today. And obviously there's been some change in the size and scope of government, but I think Georgia is very well served by having a citizen legislature, because you're able to take advantage of the expertise of people like Senator Schaefer. So it's absolutely untrue for anybody that might be thinking that's his sole source of income or the sole source of income of any member of the legislature.
All right, it's a couple more things, and like I said, I did not want David Schaefer on the show to tell me his political side of this. He is the candidate. I wanted you so I could discuss some things down at the Senate and who should probably be the next lieutenant governor of Georgia. In Duncan or the dark money group that sent out the mailer, the personal accusations of sexual misconduct, that was totally thrown out by a bipartisan committee that threw that out. It said, you know, there's nothing here. In your time with Senator Schaefer, anything inappropriate, any conduct that you've seen that wasn't acceptable in any way?
Absolutely not. You know, Senator Schaefer, to me, has really set an example in his decorum and in his personal ethic as a state legislator, in terms of how he treats other members, lobbyists, members of the public, you know, the fact that long after these charges had been dismissed, that the Duncan campaign continues to rehash them, kind of goes back to what you said from the beginning. I mean, somebody who claims sort of a religious calling to run and then is continuing to stir up these hurtful and false allegations against Senator Schaefer of a very personal nature. It's sad. I think it's the mark of a fairly desperate campaign. But no, David Schaefer has been, in my view, one of the most upright and ethical members of the General Assembly that I've interacted with in my 8 years of service.
Well, just two more things here. SchaeferWhistleBlower.com. I mean, I have never seen a candidate that actually put up a website like Jeff Duncan has called SchaeferWhistleblowers.com. This website is for whistleblowers in state government or those who may have witnessed intimidation, harassment, bribery, threats, or even harmful actions by Senator David Schaefer. File an anonymous report. Now, how concerned are you with, there's two things. Let me read the first sentence here. Senator David Schaefer, Schaefer's dirty politics and unethical behavior has become legend in Georgia politics circles. He has shown he will stop at nothing in the pursuit of power and personal gain. I have two questions. How concerned are you as a senator that somebody just launched a website like that, making accusations of bribery, threats, intimidation, harassment for an anonymous, somebody just to go anonymously and make a claim?
Yeah, I mean, I think that a lot of the language on that website is frankly defamatory in nature. I mean, I think it's false, and I think it's designed to injure Senator Schaefer's reputation. But I think it's yet another mark of a desperate campaign that has no real message. You know, if you hear David Schaefer speak, and I hope people, you know, take that opportunity over the next few days to either check out his website or watch the GPB debate coming up this weekend, you're going to hear a clear, articulated vision for a Georgia that is less burdened by regulation and taxation, a Georgia where we uphold traditional values. All you hear from the Duncan campaign are these smears and lies about Senator Schaefer, which is, it's just very sad. It's very sad that we're not having a robust exchange of ideas, that we're just having this sort of smear job.
You know, I sent someone, I'm going to be very vague about this. I sent someone to a political rally that normally doesn't go to them. And I sent them to a political rally where almost everybody was there. All the candidates were there. And I said, when you get done, you come back and you tell me who your favorite candidate is. And I did a little test. And they said, well, who should I watch for? Who should I listen to? Who is going to be the most interesting? I said, no, absolutely not. You go watch every candidate, and then when you're done, you come out and call me and say, you know what, this is the candidate I really like. This individual came out and called me and said, David Schaefer. David Schaefer. Now, I don't want to put a name to that, but they said David Schaefer, out of all the candidates, just came across the most genuine. Now, that being said, Senator Schaefer's dirty politics and unethical behavior has become legend in Georgia politics circles. Senator McCoon, if you've served with him all these years, how did you miss this?
I know. It's amazing that in
I question you. What were you doing that you missed this?
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing that that somebody would miss that kind of conduct. But in all seriousness, you know, when you examine David Schaefer, the man, I mean, a lot of people don't know David's a child of adoption.
Yes.
He comes to his pro-life convictions from a very personal place. He's somebody that, I think anybody would be fortunate to have David as a personal friend. I certainly count him as one myself. And I think he's just he's a hard worker. He has a passion for public service. He's in this for the right reasons. And, you know, he's going to, for people like me who have had our share of disappointments over the last 8 years in terms of getting some of these issues over the finish line, putting David Schaefer in one of these three critical positions in our state government. We all know the governor, the lieutenant governor, and the Speaker of the House set the tone, set the agenda. If we give David Schaefer that opportunity, we're going to get some big wins for conservatives starting in 2019. And so that's why if you feel strongly about these issues, if you feel strongly about pro-life legislation, which is going to be even more important with the change on the Supreme Court,
Absolutely.
Second Amendment legislation, all these different issues, David Schaefer is your guy, and I couldn't feel more strongly about that.
One more thing, we'll let you go. I know you're driving and you have to get somewhere, so I appreciate you being with us this morning. Let's talk about the seriousness. Let's drill it down to the seriousness of actually being the lieutenant governor of the state of Georgia. One, the lieutenant governor is a voted position by the citizens, basically for multiple reasons, but because it's an election for this position, it's one step away from the governor. Now, forbid anything would ever happen where your governor's concerned, but your lieutenant governor is elected, one of the reasons, by the people because they could be your governor, correct?
That's exactly right. I mean, people don't understand, I think, the lieutenant governor plays a crucial role in our government. When you think about those three positions I mentioned a moment ago, I mean, the Speaker of the House sits at the head of the House of Representatives, but the Speaker of the House is elected by 180 House members.
Exactly.
Lieutenant Governor is elected by the 10 million people of the state of Georgia. And so to have somebody who's a statewide elected official who presides over the Senate, makes decisions about committee assignments, what senators are running which committees, has tremendous appointment authority across state government. It's just a crucially important role in the running of our government, in the formation of our public policy, and that's why we have this golden opportunity. I would liken it to President Trump's Supreme Court nominees. We've got somebody who's tested. We've got somebody who we know how they're going to behave in the office, and we ought to be grabbing that as hard as we possibly can and pushing him over the finish line. So, it's a great opportunity because the lieutenant governor has such a big role within our state government.
Well, and you touched on it, and I wanted to touch on that also, is your lieutenant governor, is actually how the committee appointments are made and the heads of committees are made, and there's a lot of depth on what gets done and what you may get through the Senate based on the heads of those committees.
That's exactly right. I mean, depending on who the chairman is, the chairman of a committee in our process has a good deal of authority on which bills get heard, which bills get votes that move them on to the next step in the process. So it's important not just to have conservatives at the top of the pyramid, so to speak. You want to have those, kind of field marshals out there who understand what we're trying to do to advance a conservative agenda. So with David Schaefer at the helm, we know we're going to get very good conservative committee chairmen who are going to advance this agenda that I've been talking about with you today of robust pro-life legislation, pro Second Amendment legislation, reducing taxes, religious freedom, supporting our traditional values. We can get an awful lot of wins in a short period of time by promoting David Schaefer to lieutenant governor.
Well, Senator, I appreciate it. And before you go, we heard a lot of rumors before the campaign really started, and during the election here, it's a little bit quiet, and I think for some reason they just don't want to get too much going on during election. You hear anything about a possible special session? I just had to throw it out there. You heard anything about possibly having to be called back before the end of the year?
Nothing new. Obviously, the governor came out months ago and said that he might call us in to discuss this Amazon project, and that seems to have gone relatively quiet. As you say, for political reasons, it's probably better to wait until the runoff is over to call a special session. But I'm certainly prepared to go to the Gold Dome and have a very robust conversation about how much tax money we need to give Jeff Bezos.
There you go. I agree. I agree. I agree. So how much money we need to give him, I agree. Senator, we appreciate it. Thank you for always calling in. And like I said, I wanted to get your take on why you endorsed David Schaefer for Lieutenant Governor. Thank you very much, Senator.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay, that is Senator from Columbus, Georgia, down in Columbus, Georgia, Senator Josh McCoon, a friend of the show. He's been on the show multiple times, always has come on the show at any time to discuss any issues under the Gold Dome, and he has for 3 years. Now, if you're new to the show, and we appreciate it, thank you for viewing, but if you're new to the show, we've been doing this for 3 years, and we started out, I guess, maybe 3 people watching, and maybe 2 of them mom and dad or something. But anyhow, we started out, 3 years ago doing an hour. Should start out 45 minutes and an hour. But from day one, basically, Senator McCoon has come on the show, give us updates on what's happening down at the Capitol. And he has led the way in a lot of controversial bills as far as religious freedom. Josh McCoon there. A lot of bills, English as the official language. And as he stressed, the more conservative legislation has come out of the Senate in the state of Georgia, which David Schaefer was the Senate pro temp. He was not in this last session, but he has been for several years. And why he feels that Duncan is lying about Schaefer, and he's endorsed him. So I wanted to get that straight from him. We're going to take a break, and I'm going to take just a couple minutes, and I'm going to talk a little more about the lieutenant governor's race. And I want you to stay with me. I'm going to give you my personal opinion if you haven't picked up on it already. And how disappointed I am in Jeff Duncan. And I can bring it home right after these messages.
The Tupelo Tea mission is to provide over 80 premium tea blends for tea lovers who are looking for ways